This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart, live from the WNYC studios in Soho. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. I'm really grateful that you are here. On today's show, we'll speak with Domanita Marchetti, the author of the book Italian Cookies, Authentic Recipes and Sweet Stories from Every Region. And it's also Mother's Day happening this weekend, and we want to hear your mom's New York story. Get ready to call or text us with that story. StoryCorps senior producer Von Diaz will be our ride-along for that conversation. That's the plan, so let's get this started with some kid-friendly restaurants. This weekend is Mother's Day, which means a lot of families will be out for brunch or dinner. And those of us who are parents know that sometimes kids are the pickiest eaters. I mean, who hasn't been reduced to eating chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs or yet another bowl of mac and cheese? But wait, there is a list from grubstreet.com which features some of the best restaurants for kids and parents. The main requirements were that the list didn't have any pizza places or feature any big chains. No Dave & Buster's here. The article is titled The 40 Best Restaurants for Kids and Parents, How to Eat with Children While Dining Like a Grown-Up. It was compiled by writer Rachel Sugar, who joins me now in studio. Hi, Rachel. Welcome back.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Are you a parent of young children? Where do you go when you eat with your kids? Are there any places that have become your favorites? And tell us why. How do you get your kids to try new foods? What is something a restaurant must have before you even consider taking your kids there? Give us a call or text us now. The number is 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC. We want to hear about your favorite place to take your kids out to eat. So you're a parent.
I am.
I'm a parent. In your piece, you write, before they actually have kids of their own, all food-loving parents to be harbor the same fantasy. Our babies will be different. When do you think that expectation begins to shift?
Oh, I mean, I think as soon as you give birth, like as soon as you meet your child. But as soon as your child starts to have opinions, preferences, pre-verbal, I think, but I also think it's really easy to underestimate kids and to sort of assume that, kids are changing all the time too. Mm-hmm. So to sort of assume that something that didn't work last week, won't work again, you don't really know. I think I spent a lot of time actually with a very young child, afraid to go anywhere, kind of a shut-in. And it turns out, at this particular moment, which could change any time, and I know it's easy to be smug and all of those caveats, but I have a 2.5-year-old who really loves restaurants. And I feel really lucky about that. But I also maybe could have rejoined the world a little bit sooner than I did.
How do you go about getting a kid to try something new?
I mean, I'm trying to be very low pressure about it. This is such a morally weighted topic. I think I'm really hesitant to sort of, I'm obviously not an expert. And I've panicked about it. I've sort of gone through all of the, baby-led weaning. I also know that I mean, I've certainly been told by parents with kids who are a little older, just wait until they develop preferences. I remember my own childhood and my own eating issues and, trying very hard to be chill about it.
Just chill about it, right?
And I also think that a restaurant is probably not the place to stake your whatever, draw your line in the sand and you're going to try this today. I think that work probably you want to be sort of doing all the time in a low-key way at home.
Yeah.
But I also, all kids are different and they're all different than they were 2 weeks ago.
Let's get to the guide. You included 40 restaurants as part of this guide where parents and children can both be happy. There were 2 self-imposed mandates, no pizza and no big chains. Why were these important to you?
I think no big chains was like largely just about there being so many special restaurants in New York City that are New York specific and smaller operators. And I think there's something that feels kind of like, quote unquote, like cooler. Mm-hmm. And part of this was about sort of maintaining your identity as a parent, as somebody who like maybe enjoys going out to restaurants, used to enjoy going out to restaurants, would like to be a person who continues to do that. And then pizza, I think, pizza's tricky. But basically, like, about pizza. Like, everybody knows about pizza. Pizza's really good. I love pizza. Everybody loves pizza. And I just think, like, you can sort of think of pizza by yourself. Yeah. Like, we don't need to. But, I mean, that's certainly no shade to pizza or all of the cool stuff people are doing with pizza in the city. Pizza's great. I just think people know that.
People know.
Yeah, people have heard of pizza. Yeah.
Let's take a call. This is Nat calling from Ridgewood, New Jersey. Hey, Nat, thanks for taking the time to call all of it.
Hey, Allison, thanks for having me on. I'm actually in Queens.
Ridgewood, Queens, sorry.
Hi. I was on the show over the summer with Tiffany, so it's nice to be back on. I want to shout out Francie on Broadway in Williamsburg. We go there for special occasions, and it's fine dining, Michelin-starred food, but with a really casual atmosphere. Chef Chris Cipollone and John Winters have done an amazing job making it super comfortable. But for the kids, there are a few dishes that really work well. If you get the Roman sourdough, just a simple bread appetizer they offer, it comes with a lardo that they shape into a little piggy face. And we have to order an extra piggy face for my kids because they love it so much. They also do a duck ragu, pappardelle, which is my son's favorite pasta in the whole world, which I'm a little upset about because I make bolognese at home, but I'll take it. And then the real winner is the rubber ducky dessert, which you can see on Instagram. They call it duck l'orange, but it's this incredible lemon rubber duck on what looks like bubble bath, which is a bergamot foam, and it like that blows their mind every time.
Wow, that sounds like a great place.
Yeah,
Nat, thanks for calling in. Rachel, what did you use as your criteria?
I was really looking. So one thing we really wanted was places that you, an adult, might go on your own without your kid, with your friends, on a date, whatever, that you would like electively go to these places under various circumstances. So that was like sort of one. So they had to fit that, but then they also had to be places where you could go and not feel like you're ruining the vibe, like you're not wanted, like you're trapped. I think one thing that just comes up a lot, and especially talking to parents, and like you just want a place that's kind of big. Not all of these restaurants are, but there's often they're either bigger, they have a backyard, there's like some escape routes, they're across the street from a park. There's like some way to sort of release the pressure. So we're sort of looking for stuff that, where they're sending little signals that you're welcome. You're this could work. And sometimes that's, crayons on the table or a kid's menu. Sometimes it's something really explicit, and sometimes it's really not. Sometimes it's like more subtle than that.
A new grubstreet.com guide points to the 40 best restaurants for kids and parents. Writer Rachel Sugar is here to talk with me about some suggestions on how to eat with children while dining out like a grown-up. And we'd like to hear from you. Are you a parent of small children? Where do you go out to eat with your kids, or any places that have become favorites for you? Our phone number is 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC. This is a funny text, Rachel. It says, grew up in an eat what's on your plate and eat it all home, now to having 3 kids with wildly different tastes, an omnivore, a vegetarian, and a beige food only. The struggle is real. This one says, please don't forget Benihana's. Not only is the food yummy, but preparing everything tableside is a show in and of itself. Our twins, picky when it comes to foods, are excited when we mention Benihana. In 2025, they wanted to celebrate their birthdays there. I celebrated my 12th birthday at a Benihana. It's a great place for a birthday.
Yeah, I think places that have an entertainment like
aspect,
where the food is the entertainment, whether that's, sushi came up. Benihana is probably like the iconic example. There's other hibachi places too, but there's a Thai hot pot place on the list. There's a shabu shabu place on the list. Like these places that are either there's a performance or the food is interactive in some way that's not like interactive because it's for kids, but just that's how you eat it. Those, I think, can work really, really well.
Let's talk about Golden Unicorn at 18 East Broadway. No restaurant on this list got more recommendations than the Golden Unicorn. Help us understand why it's so popular.
I think it's really, obviously, caveat to all of this, all kids are different. Everybody's different. Preferences are different. Dietary, whatever, we're different. But I think it's really hard to go wrong with dim sum. Mm-hmm. For one thing, it's instant. It comes so fast. You sit down. There's no waiting. I think waiting is really hard. Presumably, it gets easier as kids get older. But I think, I have trouble waiting sometimes, and I'm like theoretically an adult. The food comes immediately. The room is incredible. Like there's a scene, there's tons of people, there's a ton of stuff to look at. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but the flip side of that is that you're not on display. Nobody is paying attention to you. Nobody is like giving you a look if your kid is, opining about tofu or whatever. Like you're fine. You're supposed to be there. And I think that's really one of the things we were looking for. And then as several parents pointed out to me, you can see the food before you order it. So you're just kind of pointing, I want that, I want that. Like there's something really, like there's an immediacy to that, but there's also like no mystery. Like, is your kid going to eat it? I don't know. Like, here it is. Do they want it? So I think there's something really just like, it's just practical.
Let's talk about Superiority Burger at 119 Avenue A. It opened its doors in 2015. What sets it apart from other joints? There's tons of burger joints.
Yeah. So, one thing that I really like about it is that it is mostly sort of accidentally vegan, all vegetarian. It was important to me, and I think to the city, to like have stuff on this list that is not so meat-centric, to have a variety. But it's also... the name is a little misleading. They do have burgers, and the burgers are exceptionally good. But there's a lot on the menu. The menu is changing all the time, but it does have these like anchor dishes. So, there's stuff you can always get, and there's new stuff all the time. So it's not, it's not just straight burgers. But I think one thing that's really nice about it is that like it is, I think it is cool. I think it is still cool. It was, it was very cool when it opened. I still think it's cool. But it's not, and you can feel like you're part of the city, like you're a person who, I don't know, like reads the newspaper and, watches prestige dramas or whatever. But then you also have kids, and the food is really kid friendly. Not all of it, depending on, how your kid feels about, collard greens or whatever. But a place with exceptional French fries, like it's just hard to go wrong. It's nice to have a backup plan. And the other thing about it is that being where it is in the East Village, like it's just near a lot of other restaurants. And it's kind of nice to go somewhere where if you can't get in, you didn't make a reservation, you don't know if they're going to have seating, the wait is, 45 minutes, the wait is an hour. We're just going to go to Vestelka. Like we're just going to go to another kid-friendly restaurant down the street. You didn't drag everybody out to then have a meltdown.
Right, or be stranded.
Be stranded. It's easy to pivot.
Let's talk to Carol, who is calling in from Summit, New Jersey. Hi, Carol. Thanks for taking the time to call All of It.
Hi. I love your show, by the way, and I think you're great. Anyway, I just want to say I have a friend, a very dear friend, who's Cuban, and I'm actually her oldest daughter's godmother. So I've been around her since day one. and she now is a mother with a daughter. But my friend, from the time her daughter was born, she pureed all her food, and it was all homemade. She included garlic in it, all kinds of flavors, and that girl would go to a restaurant when she was 2 and sit down and eat any food. To this day, she's like a gourmet and a connoisseur. And my friend is a grandmother now, and she does the same for her granddaughter. And the granddaughter, if you saw her eat, people don't believe what she eats. One of her favorite things, my goddaughter, was olives when she was like a year old. Aceituna, they call it. But it's a marvel. I've never seen, I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and they're all in the, the little chicken things. I don't think these girls ever tasted it.
Thank you so much.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much for calling. We do appreciate it. This says, I'm chef and owner of Betty on Henry Street on the Lower East Side. We get everybody, families with kids, old, young, hipster, and everyone in between. It's a vast menu available all day and all night. This is a good tip. It says, tip for parents eating out with babies. It never fails because once your dinner comes, the baby will need to be held. Ask your server to bring one parent's dinner first and the second parent's dinner 15 minutes after, and you'll both get to eat. Have never had a server give us a problem with this plan.
That is so smart.
It is so smart.
That is so smart. Yeah, I mean, I wish we talked to you. Like, that should be a tip. Like, that's
perfect.
Really, yeah.
It's perfect. Thank you so much for texting that in. I'm speaking with writer Rachel Sugar. She put together a list of the 40 best restaurants for kids and parents so that you can eat with your children while acting like a grown-up. We'd like to hear from you. Are you a parent of a small children? Where do you go out to eat with your kids? How do you get your kids to try new foods? What's something a restaurant has to have to get you to come on in? Our number is 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC. We'll have more after a quick break. You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. In studio with me is writer Rachel Sugar. She's put together a list on grubstreet.com. It's called The 40 Best Restaurants for Kids and Parents, How to Eat with Children While Dining Like a Grown-Up. Let's talk to John, who's calling in. He's pulled over on the Merritt Parkway, so we want to get to you as soon as we can. Hi, John.
Hi there, and thank you, and hi, Rachel. So your last caller could have been describing our daughter. The first real food she ate was homemade Chilean sea bass at 6 months. Ooh. And she leaned over the high chair and stuck out her tongue, grunting for more. Since then, she was a restaurant baby. We took her to all the restaurants to which we ever went. At the age of just over 2, we went to a Mexican restaurant, high-end Mexican restaurant, and for dessert, they had pumpkin flan. And as we were attempting to put her back into her car seat, she stopped us and said, "Mommy, that was good flan."
That's a great story, John. Thank you so much for calling in. All right, let's talk about kids who go to fancy restaurants, because in Brooklyn, you have Gage and Tollner on here. And for people who are yelling at their TV, but it costs a lot, and yelling at the radio, but it costs a lot. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, how do kids actually feel about it when you were doing your reporting?
So, I was mostly talking to their parents. But one thing that kind of came up about so the caveat again about places like that is these are expensive restaurants. These are special occasion restaurants. There are people with who are going to them, and I think one thing that was pointed out to me about a place like Gage and Tollner specifically, from a food writer, was that like his kids. It's a steakhouse like that, this sort of gorgeous, over-the-top kind of, it's a kid's fantasy of like what a formal restaurant is. Like, this is fancy, and you know that because the waiters are dressed like this, and there are chandeliers, and there are big mirrors, and and the service is very warm, and they come to your table and they're doing sort of the whole waiter thing, and to sort of get to experience this sort of like Eloise-ish moment, like you're sort of, this is my fantasy of the adult world, it's happening. I think is something I hadn't initially thought of. And I think that's cool. Like there is something really like wonderful and kind of magical about that. And, so this guy that I was talking to about it, JJ Good, who's a cookbook writer, was saying like, it's their family birthday restaurant.
Yeah.
It's where they go, like on each of the kids' birthdays. So it's not an all the time thing. But it is really special. And it sort of hits that, I think, wonder about both restaurants and adulthood.
It's so interesting because I remember when my kid was little, we went to Paris. He had escargot every day. Every day. He enjoyed ordering it by the third day. He's like, I will have escargot. And we were kind of looking, I'm like, he really likes it. And he likes the stale, and he likes all the tableware that comes with it. And it was kind of an interesting experiment because I did not expect that. I expected him to eat fries and something and bread.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of mean. Like, kids are unpredictable and weird and don't necessarily have the same baggage that you or I have about, like, what's, quote unquote, weird or adventurous and what isn't. I've talked to a surprising to me number of parents whose kids really like oysters. Like, I think I had my first oyster when I was 25. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And these are kids who are like 5, and it's like they're like rocks, but they're alive, and they're this weird sensory experience. They're kind of gross, but they're kind of good, and they've never tasted anything like it. Like, I just think it's really easy to underestimate, and it's also really easy to say that when you're not next to a kid who's melting down in a restaurant, But that's I do think it's really important to sort of let kids fall in love with stuff.
Let's talk to Robin in Brooklyn. Hey, Robin, thanks for calling All of It.
Hi, how are you guys? Hi, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to recommend a restaurant in the Tangram Mall in Flushing. It's like an Asian mall. It's everything. Yeah, it's called Cura with a K, Ura.
Okay.
So it's like a dim sum style kind of. It brings you your food on this fun conveyor belt. And there's like a fun tablet that plays like little cartoons intermittently to like promote things that they do. The kids could use a tablet really easily. And a robot brings you your drinks, which was like blew my kids' heads off. So just wanted to recommend it. It's super fun. You get a toy at the end if you select a certain amount of dishes, which, for the bill, maybe not, it's reasonable, but it's still fun. And the toy gets dispensed like at the table. So it's all fun inside of there. So
that sounds so fun.
It's fun.
Let's talk about Cafe Spaghetti in Carroll Gardens. That's on your list as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one that I think is kind of really, I mean, it's called Cafe Spaghetti. It's sort of set out to be, family friendly, but it's not, it's not a kid restaurant. Like it's not pandering. The menu is, sort of classic and simple. It's not huge. But it's like, I think one thing that came up again and again as we were putting this list together and talking to people and thinking about what does make a kid-friendly restaurant, like really is service, is just like incredible, accommodating service that's like sort of delighting in what they're doing and that sort of wants this to be good for you. And I think Cafe Spaghetti really has that. And so it's not, when I was last there, we were sitting outside and, my daughter's covered with spaghetti and, but the table next to us, it has, is a big party, no kids, lots of drinks. And it just doesn't feel weird. Like it really is, it's a real mixed crowd. And that's really, really, I think what we were looking for is, I also went to restaurants that are not ultimately on this list as we were putting this together, where I was the only person with a kid. And even if everybody's very nice, like it doesn't feel great when they, dim the lights and it's like suddenly becomes very romantic and you're the only person there with the, toddler. And it just feels like a restaurant is absolutely like not every restaurant needs to be a kid-friendly restaurant. Like, absolutely. But when you're at one and you sort of realize that maybe you shouldn't be, like, that's pretty, I don't know, it's kind of uncomfortable.
We have a good tip here. This says, I have been a maitre d' for years in Greenwich Village. Here's a tip. Include your baby in your reservation head count and in your resi notes, and let us know if you prefer a banquette or a table, and if you want the stroll at the table, etc. It gives us a heads up to give you the most family-friendly tables with more space. We read the resi open notes, so when in doubt, over-communicate.
Yes, I think that's a really good tip. And I didn't initially know that and wasn't sure like how to, like, she's a person, but is she like what you mean by a person? But yes, I mean, it's about like, you have to give the restaurant a chance for this to work. And that does involve this over communication.
I have to ask about an Egyptian style seafood restaurant because it was on the New York Times 100 Best Restaurants of 2025. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I'm worried I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I was hoping you were going to pronounce it first.
Akbir?
I think so. Yeah.
Abuqir.
So this is a place where you go and, they're getting the fish. You see the fish from the market that morning and you can get it fried or grilled and you eat it right there. And, I was talking to one parent whose kid had only eaten, I guess this is like a very New York City thing. But like kids love sushi, but they don't, they're not going to eat like regular fish, but they all eat sushi. So anyway, her kid like hadn't been willing to eat sort of non-sushi fish and sort of discovered it there and loved it so much the staff was calling him Flounder Boy because they, and they were trekking from Brooklyn to Astoria on a regular basis enough to get a nickname because he liked it so much. And I think that's kind of a good example of like, if you're introducing a new food or sort of trying to sell your kid on something, like, give them the best. Like, they're doing it really well.
Let's take one more call. Tracy is calling in from Orange. Tracy, thanks for calling all of it. You're our last caller.
Oh, great. I have two antidotes. My husband and I love eating out, and we've eaten out even with our kids very young. We never left them at home. So when my son was probably about 5.5, 6, we were in D.C. eating at a French restaurant. And he wanted the escargot. My mom was with us, and she tried to discourage him from getting the snail. And, of course, we always let our kids try whatever they want. He absolutely loved the escargot and has loved escargot since then, but still says, even after living in Paris for about 6 months, that the escargot he had in D.C. is the best he's ever tasted.
Aw, thank you so much for calling in. That's so funny. We call escargot like the garlic and olive oil delivery service. It's like Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
The name of the article is The 40 Best Restaurants for Kids and Parents, How to Eat with Children While Dining Like a Grown-Up. It's full of great restaurants. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.